How did I become a coach for women? Why the emphasis on women? Why the emphasis on Black women? This is a question that I get often. So we're going to talk about it. So I actually never set out with any intentions to become a coach. It's something that found me through trying to figure out my life's purpose ultimately. I grew up in a really small town and I had struggles with my identity. I had serious struggles with my body image, with my racial identity. There was a lot going on. I also struggled to know what I wanted to do with my life. When I graduated high school, I had no plan, I had no vision. I went to college because everyone else was going to college and I needed to do something. And so while I was going to college, I was also working 3 jobs. I would work overnight, go to classes in the morning, and have part-time jobs in the evening. And somewhere in there, I would try to find time for naps. It just didn't make sense. It wasn't sustainable. And there were a couple moments where I really felt everything like coming to a head. I got in a car accident driving home from another overnight working shift. And I had to look myself in the mirror one day and just ask myself, like, what are we doing? Where are we going? What is even the point of all of this? And I got in such a dark place, probably because I had no purpose. I was incredibly overworked and was not sleeping. And in that dark place, I had come to Jesus moment where I realized if I kept going like this, and if I stayed in the environment and the circumstances that I was in, I was literally going to die. Like I heard it clearly. So from there, I started thinking, how am I going to get out of here? What can I do with my life? And I landed on joining the military. And that was pretty cool because I was excited about the opportunity that I had to contribute to something meaningful. The meaningful thing that I was going to contribute in my mind at that time was the fight on terror, the war on terror. And so in the military, I learned Arabic and then I worked in counterterrorism. Now, in that time, while I was doing that, I started to have a lot of like debilitating back pain. And there was really no explanation for that back pain. I met a woman at the gym that I would train at, and she would always invite me to do foam rolling, stretching, those types of classes that weren't, in my mind at the time, masculine things to do. So I always said no. Part of that journey was like going hyper masculine. And so that's essentially where I was at. That's where my mindset was at the time. I was, active duty. Now, because up until that point, I had tried so many different things to find some pain relief. And that was the only thing that was so quick and so noticeable. I was like, okay, whatever this is, like, I need more of whatever this is. So I started spending more time. I was doing mindfulness meditation retreats with her, hanging out. Doing what I didn't know at the time was coaching. We would have these conversations where I would need clarity, where I'd be stuck having a certain emotional experience, stuck maybe in a certain pattern. She became someone that I would really lean on. After a couple years of that, she came to me and she was like, I'm doing this thing that I think you would be really good at. This thing was a life coaching certification program. It was a refresher for her, but it was something new to me. I went to that program and what I felt, what I experienced was unlike anything that I had ever felt. I had been really successful in my military career up until that point. I had gone through a significant physical transformation, gone through a financial transformation. I had gotten over my social anxiety and all of the issues that I was having with my confidence and my identity. But this was a feeling unlike any feeling that I had going through that experience. I felt like every cell in my body was vibrating. I felt light. I felt like I was floating. I felt like I was flying. And it was just such a profound experience for me. And I realized like that is what purpose feels like. That is what joy feels like. That's what I wanted to feel more of. And that ultimately is the thing that I had been really chasing for years. But I had to go through these different phases of personal development, go through these different phases of real challenges, internal and external, be able to experience that the way that I did and actually be able to get anything from it. I had to come into alignment for that moment in time in my journey. Fast forward again, and I'm recognizing that I want to do something different. I realized that, maybe the military is not the end all be all for me, nor is the career path that I had in the military, because the career path that I had in the military was easily transferable to the private sector, to the civilian world, as we call it. Could have easily gotten a job. And in fact, I ended up saying no to some really high paying job opportunities because, and this is where we're getting to, how did I become a coach? I knew that I just really wanted to help people. I knew that coaching experience that I had and all of the things that I've grown through, I knew that that was something I wanted to figure out how to help. I wanted to figure out how I could make money doing that thing that I loved and helping people. And, over the years, I had seen people talking about this, but I never really took it seriously because, I had a career, I had a job, and I wasn't looking for a side hustle or anything like that. But I started listening to those conversations more closely, again, because I was in the space to hear it now. And so I made the decision that I want to start a coaching business. And at that time, I had an idea where I was going to coach men. I was going to help insecure men become secure. That was the whole plan because I was a super insecure guy in every single, and through things that I had gone through, I had figured out how to create an internal sense of confidence that's unshakable. So you're not just standing on these achievements that you have and these things outside of you, but you genuinely feel confident within yourself. That's what I wanted to help men with. And so I hired a mentor. I was, going through all of their systems. I was running advertisements on social media platforms, and the guys that were coming through, they were ghosting me. They were blocking me. They were not showing up. But who wasn't doing that was women. I started to get questions from women when I was posting my content on the internet, like, what is it that you do? And in trying to figure out, like, how am I going to do this coaching business? Who am I going to help with this coaching program that I have in my mind? My ex-wife at the time said, well, why don't you coach women? And in my mind, I was like, why would I coach women? And so I totally understand when I get the question now, even after doing this for 4 years, who am I to coach women? And I looked at all of the different times in my life where I had really grown, or where I had really healed, or where I just had like a really divine intervention of sorts. And it was always a woman who was in that situation with me. It was always a woman who helped me. Remember the woman that helped me deal with my back pain and deal with my emotional pain and guided me into learning what coaching as a skill even is. And that's just one example. And so that's when I realized, okay, if the woman who I'm married to, at that time, trusts me with her life and thinks that it would be a good idea for me to also help other women, then plus I have all of these experiences, it was really starting to make sense for me. And so when I actually announced my new coaching program, this time for women, suddenly it took off. It was resonating. It was working. And although I faced, some ups and downs, it wasn't long before I had my first 5-figure month. And that was kind of the validation for me that this is something that women need. This is something that women want. And throughout this whole process of becoming the man that I am today, there were women who created safe spaces for me to explore my identity, to explore my past traumas, to understand why I am the way I am, and to ultimately help me become the best version of myself that I can. And so that's ultimately what I love helping people do now. The question, why women? We touched on that, but why Black women specifically? Well, the truth is, like, it's Black women who have poured so much into me. It's Black women who have helped me become the man that I am today. It's Black women who have helped me succeed in business. It's Black women who have helped me embrace my identity, and I've always felt safe. I've always felt nourished. I've always felt poured into. And so what I want to be able to do is pay that forward. What I want to be able to do is give that same experience for women. If you want to learn more about my coaching and what that looks like, or if you just want to learn more about coaching in general, I'm going to leave a link in this video description. But with that being said, my name is Sid Scott. Thanks for tuning into another video. I'll see you in the next one. Military, I was in shape. I was like very type A. I was very confident, very aggressive towards all of my goals, and I didn't want to slow down. But that would be the thing that I ultimately needed, because my back pain got so bad that I came to that woman and finally took her up on her invitation. And after doing some mindful moving and stretching with her, some of my back pain went away.